So my morning is not off to the greatest start. I made myself a bowl of cereal, I chopped up some fruit, I tried to make it really healthy, and then I put what I thought was cinnamon on top, and it was actually smoked paprika. So that is bad thing number one. And also, I've just got into my kitchen cabinet to have a look at the plants in there, and things are going really wrong. This is a plant that I only got a couple of weeks ago, so I've got quite a lot to get through this morning and quite a lot of things to check over. I think I might have just been a little bit lax with my plant chores recently, so we're going to try and get through a lot this morning. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Joli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learnt over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, today is just going to be a kind of like a pottering with plants, getting on with things that need to be got on with. And we can just go through it together, talk through stuff together as we go, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So the plant that's going wrong is one of the ones that I got when I did my birthday Etsy unboxing. I was very kindly sent a free plant from one of the sellers. And I can't remember exactly what its Latin name is. Like it's a Fenestraria something, but it's commonly known as baby's toes. And I showed you it when I first got it. And that bit there, you can kind of see it. I said it looked like crystals. I thought it was so beautiful. And I've only watered this plant once since I've had it because I've only had it for a couple of weeks, and the soil was pretty much bone dry when I first got it, so I gave it a very little water through, I let it drain, and I've had it in my kitchen, my little kitchen cabinet, which, as I've said before, isn't like a high humidity cabinet. I do tend to use it for cacti and succulents, and it's been looking fine until I looked at it just now, and then I was like, oh my god, what's going wrong so quickly? And it does appear to be rot related. I mean, this is classic with cacti and succulents when they get overwatered. So I don't know if maybe it was in a like too dense a soil mix. Like if I just lift it out, the roots actually look okay. But as you can see, that is like, it doesn't look particularly well draining, and it does feel quite saturated. So yeah, and I've got a couple of little sections of it here that still feel quite kind of juicy and succulent and don't look too rotty at the bottom. So I'd really like to know a little bit more about propagating this plant. If any of you have experience in propagating it, please do let me know. I think what I would typically, like my go-to would be, as I say, I've never owned this plant before, but I would probably propagate it in the same way as I do Echeveria. So for example, like lying it across a piece of wet kitchen roll, or in fact, one second, I'll show you. I was going to say, in fact, I've got some succulents propagating just lying on semi-hydro at the moment. So I think that's probably what my gut would say. I might start it like that today. And then if any of you have any better ideas, then I'll listen to you, because as I say, I don't know the plant. The thing I've been kind of putting off doing for days is getting into my main cabinet. I know everything there needs a desperate water. I've got some very, very, very dehydrated and sad looking plants in there. So yeah, I think that is going to be my first port of call. So I'm just going to pour myself a cup of coffee and then come over and we can make a start on that together. Also, I'm running a little bit low on floor space in my flat today because me and Ross are undertaking a pretty major project. Some of you might know about this already, but all the stuff we need for it has just arrived. So yeah, we will be getting on with that in the next couple of days, and I can't wait. There's lots of stuff in lots of places. Okay, so I mixed up some water and fertiliser last night, so I'm going to just carry on using that. But I know I have got some things in my cabinet that are looking a little bit sad. The heat in that cabinet is ridiculous. Like, I know I've said it before, but compared to other spaces in my flat, that one just, I mean, it absolutely hoards heat. As soon as the sun comes out in my flat anyway, it gets very warm. But yeah, it, like literally, you open the door and you can just feel like a hit of heat coming out. So I'm just gonna grab things as I see them. But I've got this Scindapsus Silver Hero cutting, and this one is definitely ready to be potted up. I think it's probably ready to have been potted up for a while. It's got some really crazy roots in there, and its moss is very, very dry. So I'm just going to hydrate the moss for now. I probably could pot it up. I mean, my plan was to take loads and loads of cuttings of this plant and then pot them all back with the mother plant to create a really full plant. But I took those cuttings probably, I don't know, 4 months ago now, and I've now got lots of them. Hello, Joli. Hello, baby girl. Yoli's just having a very big stretch. But I've now got lots of them that could almost make their own new plants. Like I would have a ginormous one if I was to pot them all back up together. So I'm not quite sure what to do with them all now. And I don't know if I have the energy to actually do the potting up today. I don't know how essential it is. So for now, I'm just going to get on top of pest checking, watering, anything else I need to do in the cabinet. So I am just going to put this one back in there. Oh, it's also got some new growth starting, if you look in the cup down the bottom there, which is quite exciting. But no, I love the Silver Hero. It's a really easy Scindapsus to care for as well, considering it's kind of on the rarer side of what's considered kind of easily accessible where I'm from. It's probably the easiest type of Scindapsus that I own, and it grows so quickly as well. And this is my Philodendron Yopi. This is the one that's been chopped back many, many, many times. And in my my video the other day, my plant chores video, where I was going through and I chopped up my Philodendron camposportoanum, the one that I can never say properly. And I said that there was a philodendron in that mixed bunch that looked a little bit like this, a young Yopi. Some of you were saying that it could also be a Florida green, because apparently that looks quite similar, but do you know what I mean? They do look very, very similar. And this one I've transferred now to semi-hydro. It's growing. It's not doing great. This is one that I got to a fairly decent size at one point, so I'm a little bit annoyed at myself. But yeah, I just wasn't very good at monitoring it, so it got pests, it dried out. I've chopped it back so many times, but yeah, I don't think anything really needs doing to it for the time being. I won't take you through absolutely everything unless there's like exciting growth updates or anything. This is just my Hoya Mous, which I put into semi-hydro fairly recently. It's such a gorgeous Hoya. But I was amazed actually, on a completely different subject, that in my last plant chores video I spoke about quitting smoking, Stoptober. I was amazed at the response I got and how encouraging and wonderful you guys were about it. Not that I expected you not to be, but I know that it's something that like smoking doesn't feel like it aligns with what I talk about on a daily basis, and it's something that I'm not particularly proud of, but yeah, it's something that I feel very encouraged to stick with, knowing that you guys are behind me, and if any of you are doing it as well, I really hope it's going well for you. This is also one, so this is technically one of Ross's plants. It is a Cryptanthus, and this was very kindly given to him at the Birmingham plant swap, and Emma took it and gave it to him, and he loves it, but I'm looking after it for him for now, and I don't really know what it likes or what it needs. It's just in my cabinet. It seems to be doing okay so far. But yeah, smoking wise, I started smoking when I was, I think, about 15, and by the time I was 17, 18, I was on easily 20 a day, and I smoked for a very long time, and it's something that I'm not embarrassed about, but like it's a habit that I wasn't particularly proud of, let's just say that, and I regretted starting kind of, I don't know, within a year of starting, I regretted the fact that I'd started. I spent a lot of money, and it's one of the worst habits in the world. And on Patreon fairly recently, actually, we did a big I did a big mental health chat, and kind of spoke a little bit more in detail about like my mental health history, and addiction for me in many forms is something that has kind of very much been there throughout my whole life. And smoking is just one of those things now that, and not smoking because I know I vape nowadays, but I'm like, if I could just kick nicotine altogether, I would be so proud of myself. I'd be so proud of myself. And it's now been 4-5 days and I haven't had my vape, and I'm not gonna lie, it has been really, really difficult, and I have had a lot of moments every single day where I felt grumpy, annoyed, frustrated so easily by the smallest things, and yeah, it's just something that I'm kind of pushing through because I really want to do it this time. Also, my friend Emma, Good Growing, suggested getting one of these, and they're little like, they're almost like little vapey things that you wear around your neck, and they're not the same as a vape. It's literally just like air, but I've found that it's been helping quite a lot. I put a little bit of peppermint oil at the bottom of it and I find it helps. So if any of you are trying to stop, then hopefully that would be helpful to you too. But my Echeveria Regal, this is another one that I haven't really got any major updates to give you on. I still haven't got to the bottom of what is going on with that damage on her leaf. I did have a look through the microscope and I can't see any sign of flat mites or anything. So I don't know what's going on with her. I'm just, I'm happy to see that her roots are doing very well. I'm happy that she has given me a new leaf, even if it is a bit damaged. Her roots are really quite crazy nowadays. So yeah, I just hope that maybe with the next leaf, things either might be a little bit more obvious, or, I mean, what I really hope is that the next leaf will unfurl with no damage at all and she'll just be beautiful, and then we can just move forward in a nice way and I won't have to worry about this plant so much anymore. But yeah, she is starting to give me a little new growth point just there. To be honest, that's been there for a few weeks now and it's been very slow. Oh, I've just found a mealybug. Oh, for goodness sake. Can you see that? It's the white thing just there. Okay, right. I'm going to put that plant to one side and I will give her a thorough inspection after I finish doing this, and I'll also treat her with isopropyl alcohol because we don't like mealybugs. They are a pain in the ass and I don't want them in my cabinet. So everything else in here as well I think needs a very, very thorough check. I was going to say particularly Hoyas. Hoyas and Theriums, very robust plants, are often the ones that are much more susceptible to mealybugs. Can't see any sign on this one. This is my Hoya Latifolia, which is growing beautifully. It's another one that I've got in semi-hydro at the moment, and its reservoir actually doesn't need filling. Yeah, I think that one's okay. And my Philodendron painted lady, this one's doing really well for me because I completely chopped this plant back a little while ago. This is the one that I originally got from Emma when we did our first ever mystery plant swap together, which I think was about a year, it must be about a year and a half now, which is crazy. And it's a plant that I've wanted for ages. I was really, really happy when I got it. But it just wasn't growing that well for me again since moving in here. I don't know if it was environmental. It went through a little bit of a shift and I ended up chopping it back. And I chopped the main stem, and as you can see it has just sprouted from next to that now, and it's giving me some beautiful growth. So I think probably the next step is going to be to get it back on a moss pole and hope that it continues to grow well for me, because yeah, it's one that I really, really enjoyed when it was healthy, and then I just wasn't that good at monitoring, I don't think. So attempt number 2. But yeah, I'm wondering if that was just a one-off mealybug because I haven't seen any others. And then this is an alocasia. Let me just fill it up because it is very dry. But this is an alocasia that I can't quite make up my mind about. So this is the Alocasia Purple Sword. And I got an Alocasia Purple Sword when I went to Gebben Green, which was, I don't know, 5 months ago now, maybe even longer actually, 6 months. And I got a purple sword from them and I thought it was really lovely, and I've still got it and it's doing okay. It's not doing great. And then this, I got these as little corms from the last plant swap that I went to from my friend Lottie, and she actually thought that this one could be an Alocasia Sarian. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really excited about the fact it could be a Sarian because I've never had a Sarian. I think they are amazing. I think I'm right in saying that it's a Alocasia Mitchellitziana hybrids. I'll pop a picture on the screen because it's amazing. But anyway, it has similar stems to the Sarian. I think that's why we mistook it. We were mistaken in thinking it was that. But it actually turned out to be Alocasia Purple Sword. And I'm caring for the plant. The plant seems happy. I just haven't quite fallen in love with it yet. And it's funny because I look at my friend's plant of this one and it's beautiful and I really appreciate it in her collection, but it's one that I feel like just isn't sitting that right in mine yet. It doesn't quite feel like my plant yet. So I think I probably will at some point pot this one up with the one that I got from Gebben Green and kind of get it a little bit fuller. But yeah, I'm just kind of waiting to see if the point comes where I fall in love with that plant, because I mean, if I don't, I will just pass it on to another home. I know that is another plant swap coming up. It can be quite a good opportunity to do things like that, to get rid of things that you're not in love with. But I'd like to love it, you know. And then this has been another, not tedious plant, but just one that's been a little bit baffling to me. Again, I'll just give it a little water before I show you it because it's very dry. But this is the Philodendron martianum, which is commonly known as the Philodendron fat boy, that Emma gave to me when she first got back from holiday. So it was an import plant that she had imported for herself. But I was taking care of the imports while she was away and I fell in love with it, and she already had one, and so she said, go on, you have it. And I was so grateful because I think it is such a beautiful philodendron, and I think its stems, its petioles are just amazing. They're so thick and chunky. And when I was looking after it for Emma, it was doing really well for me, and I think part of the reason that I fell in love with it so much is because it was giving me such beautiful growth, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a rewarding plant. And all of a sudden it's just doing nothing, and I haven't changed anything that I'm doing with this plant. I put it into semi-hydro, but that was after it stopped doing anything for me. I was like, maybe this will help kick it into action a bit. And I haven't really had much, in fact, okay, that's a new leaf. I've had a new leaf on it in the last few months, but before it was quite quick. So I'm not quite sure if there's anything kind of underlying going on with this plant. Its roots look healthy. There's no sign of pests. Maybe it's, I was going to say maybe it's because we're coming out of growing season, but it's in a cabinet. So that shouldn't technically matter because its conditions are stable. So yeah, if anybody has any theories at all or anything that you're doing with yours that's really working, then please do let me know because it's so beautiful. It's just suddenly much slower than I initially thought it was. But yeah, otherwise it's doing well. And then, oh, my Elchoco Red. Well, this one's just given me a little bit of a weird new leaf. It's a little bit weird. Look at its new leaf. It's so diddy. This is one that, to be honest, I'm not quite sure if it's enjoying life in my cabinet or not. I put it into the cabinet because I don't know, I've never had this type of philodendron before. It was a massive, massive wish list plant for me. And I thought that it would kind of be really happy in that environment. But since I've put it in there, the growth it's given me has been quite small and stunted. And not that I mind, but I just know that this plant has the potential to produce really kind of big, luscious, velvety, beautiful foliage that isn't quite so condensed. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking that maybe it doesn't need to be in the cabinet. What do you guys do? Do any of you have the Elchoco Red, and do you grow it in or out of a cabinet? Maybe I'll water it and I'll take it out for a bit actually, and I'll see how it does. Because it wasn't in my cabinet when I first got it. I just wanted to fill up my cabinets a little bit because I had patches that were looking a little bit sparse, but yeah, I don't think the plant's actually enjoying it that much. And then this is a little TRscanta Nanuk. This is one of Ross's ones, which is in the cabinet. Oh my god, so Ross has got like 25 plants, and when he moves in, all of his 25 plants are also going to move in, and I don't know if we're going to like create separate planty spaces. I don't know if we're going to integrate both of our collections. I know I have mentioned in previous videos that I can get a little bit freaked out by, well, not freaked out, it's not the right word, but I don't particularly like really, really bold pink purple houseplants, like some of the really like bam in your face ones. I'm just going to have to get over that at the end of the day. I'm just going to have to get better with it. I can appreciate that the plants are beautiful, but often they just make me feel a little bit funny when they're in my space, and I don't know why. But yeah, as I say, when Ross is living here as well, it will be our space, and I just need to find a way to accept the things that might usually jangle me. I'm just happy he's getting into plants, to be honest. I can't exactly complain, can I? I know some people's partners wouldn't be keen on them getting more plants at all, and he is very supportive of it, which is fabulous. This is the fern leaf cactus as well that I at some point I'm going to pot with the one that I got for my birthday, because I would really like to get a big full plant going. And this one's actually getting really long. I'm kind of thinking maybe I should put the new fern leaf cactus into the cabinet. In fact, maybe I could put it in the spot where the Elchoco Red has just come out of. Maybe I will do that. But the other thing that I just saw is that the Begonia Maori Haze. So this is one that's been looking a little bit unhappy for a while. It's been a little bit floppy. I transferred it out of water and into semi-hydro, I think probably about 3-4 weeks ago now, and it has not been looking great since I did that. But I have just noticed it's putting out some new growth at the top there. So even if I do lose a few leaves, I am hoping that this plant will continue to fill out, because it's such a beautiful one. And yeah, these are technically a cutting for me and a cutting for Ross potted together. Ooh. I thought that was a mealybug, it's just discoloration on the leaf, but I just broke that one off. In fact, this section here just completely lifted out, and that's the healthy bit just there. So what I will probably do, leave that one as is, and these ones I might just recut the stem and essentially take new cuttings, and then if they root, fantastic. If they don't, at least I've still got a nice healthy plant just there. So yeah, I'm going to pop them to one side, and I'll do that shortly. And then my Hoya Graves as well is suddenly kicking into action. I know I said she had some new growth recently, but you can see she's putting out even more, and as it comes in, it's really quite pinky and sun-stressed, and I just think that is super, super beautiful. I love it when this plant grows for me and when it gets sun-stressed. Again, I'm just vigilantly checking for mealybugs here, because I find it hard to believe that there's just one. I reckon there's more, but I can't see any. So that's good at least. Oh my goodness, Joli is so adorable. I don't know if you'll be able to see if I turn the camera. Look at her, she's just kind of hanging off the sofa. I know a lot of you have said before, like, you wish that Joli would get more involved with videos, but to be honest, often when I start filming, I think because I'm kind of chatting and she's quite soothed by the sound of my voice, she will, good girl, she will just conk out. Like occasionally, if she wants something, she'll get more involved, but she just sleeps, and it's great. If I ever want her to just kind of calm and I need to get on with things, then chatting through things is often a very good thing. But yeah, right, let's get these other ones out. Ooh. all of these are massively overdue for a drink. They feel very, very dry. And the first one, which is, yay, giving me even more growth, is the Epiphyllum ackermanii. And I got this one from the Scotland plant swap, and I got a couple of cuttings of this. One was rooted and one wasn't, and I took the risk and I actually just potted them together. And luckily it's worked. The one with roots has just continued to grow beautifully, and the one that wasn't rooted is now rooted as well. But yeah, it's a jungle cacti. It loves life in the cabinet, seems very happy in there. I'm so happy, it's giving me so much lovely growth, yay. So yeah, just got it in soil, potted in a little cup at the moment, and that seems to be working fairly well. And then this Hoya, I can't remember what this Hoya is called. If I can find its name, I'll put it on the screen, but otherwise, if any of you know, then let me know, because I can't remember. I was going to say pubera, but it's not pubera. I think it might begin with a P. And I think this is another plant swap one, if I remember correctly. I've noticed actually, as I've been talking about plants on my channel in the last kind of 6 months, how many plants I have now got from plant swaps, how many things obviously I've taken to swap, but how many I end up saying like, oh yeah, I got this at the first plant swap, I got this at the second plant swap. Oh my goodness, stay upright. Yeah, I think a large portion of my collection now is made up of plants from swaps, which I think is really amazing. And I'm so proud of Emma and Lisa with everything they're doing with the plant swaps as well. I think it's just incredible what they've managed to create. Like, they've brought so many people in the community together, and I love the plant swaps so much. I would go to every single one if I could, but they are making them more and more regular, and obviously it's just not that practical to go to all of them. And also I don't have that much stuff to swap if they're happening like every few months. But yeah, I'm really excited about the next London one, which is in only a few weeks now, which is very exciting. I need to think about everything I'm going to take and what I'm prepared to cut, because a lot of the time, if a plant's growing really beautifully for me, it might get to the stage where it's big enough for me to be able to cut it, but I don't always want to cut it. I kind of just want to let it keep growing. And to be honest, I'm looking at my euphorbias at the moment, and I'm like, I could absolutely take some cuttings of my big euphorbias. Oh, I don't think I can do it though. I don't think I can do it. I'll have to have a think. One that is making me so happy at the moment is this one. It's the Peperomia incarna, and I have spoken about it in videos before. It is so fuzzy and delicate, and I just think it is the most beautiful peperomia. And I said, in fact, I think the last time I spoke about this plant, I said the one thing that would really scare me is if I was to get, ooh, I know it's just a leaf, if I was to get mealybugs on this plant, because it is obviously very thick and succulent and robust, and I can imagine that mealybugs would absolutely love it. And it's been very close to that plant, but I can't see anything on it. I think I'm just going to have to start doing like much more careful checks in here, because typically I just check my plants when I water them, and I mean, getting mealybugs in a contained space would not be good. So I think I might just need to, yeah, start doing kind of multiple weekly checks to make sure nothing goes wrong. But yeah, I'm just going to put everything back in on this level, and then we can move on to the next level. In fact, you know, one thing I should really do, and I've thought this the last like 4 or 5 times I've done my cabinet, and I haven't done it, but seeing as I'm doing this on camera, I feel like I need to hold myself accountable a little bit more. I'm just going to give the bottom of my cabinet a little sweep out, because it is covered in soil and pon and dead leaves, and also these predatory mite sachets are well past their expiration date, so they can go in the bin. And I'm just going to give it a sweep, because it will take me all of 2 seconds, and I will feel good knowing that it's been done. That'll do. at some point I should really go through and do like a big clean of my cabinet. I haven't properly got in there and kind of wiped everything out for a really long time. Just because I hate doing it. I always feel so good when I've actually done it because it looks beautiful and sparkling and clean, but actually getting to the point of getting it done is never particularly fun for me. So if any of you, like, would any of you want to see like a cleaning, organising of plants things video? Because I always find I get more done when I'm chatting to you guys about it as I do it, because I get massively distracted half the time if I'm just doing it myself. So if we could do it together, would that be useful? I don't know. Would that be very boring? Potentially. But yeah, I would happily make that video if anyone would watch it. It feels weirdly empty putting everything back into my cabinet now, because obviously I'm not putting my Elchoco Red back in, and I'm not going to put the Echeveria Regal in for the time being, because I'm going to do that one for mealybugs. So yeah, it feels ridiculously empty actually. And I think what's probably going to be easier is if I take everything out of the top shelf of my cabinet, and then I can water it down on the floor where I've just been doing it, and we can chat through things as I go. Oops, I just knocked over a plant in semi-hydro. More mess. Okay, it is now very crowded down here. I have put everything everywhere, but yeah, so my Philodendron Fuzzy Pao, this is one that I gave you an update on really recently. This one is loving life in the cabinet, outgrowing the cabinet very quickly, but I'm just so proud of this plant. I think it is so gorgeous, and its petioles are the most insane thing ever. Like, look at those. Yeah, they're amazing. So yeah, that one does not need anything doing to it, I don't think. And then the Alloca Sinuata, this is the one that I changed out its substrate fairly recently because it was rotting. And it's done really well. It has put out a really good new root system, and it seems to be fairly healthy now. But I can see it's got a little bit of growth that's getting ready to die back, so I am just going to chop that back. But mind you, my God, it's putting up so many corms, so I feel like if I want a lot more of this plant, or I want to fill this plant out a lot more, then I will be able to very easily quite soon. But yeah, I'm just going to keep its water reservoir fairly shallow compared to how I had it before, because I really do not want it to start to rot again. But yeah, look at those roots. Crazy, right? But yeah, and then this one I have put back into my cabinet in the last few days. This is my, I think, Hoya macrophylla, the one that I can never get an accurate ID on. But I just want to give this one a very good check over for mealybugs, because this one has been in and out of my cabinet with mealybugs over the last kind of 5 months. And I think the fact that I found them on another plant might suggest that they came from here. So I'm just going to give it a really good check. So no, weirdly, even on the new growth, this one still appears to be fine, which, I mean, I am really happy about. I didn't want to have to treat this plant again. But I'm guessing maybe, yeah, maybe it's unrelated, or maybe it's just coincidence that I've now got a mealy on that other plant. But I'm just, oh my God, honestly, I just want to get the mealies gone. They are so annoying. I keep thinking that I found all of them, and then I'll find them on the most random plant. Like, I found mealybugs on my Calathea orbifolia recently. And I mean, that's a plant that's never suffered with anything but thrips and spider mites before, and I was like, how random is that? So, so yeah, I don't know what it is about. I know I keep saying it's this environment. It might be nothing to do with this environment, but I just find it strange that I'd never had like an infestation before I moved here. I'd had like the odd one or two here or there, but nothing bad. And yeah, since I've lived here, it's just been a little bit ridiculous. So yeah. And this is a plant that I'm really excited about as well. I'm excited for when its leaves start to split. It is a Rhaphidophora decursiva, another plant swap one. And as I say, although its leaves are beautiful at the moment and they're very kind of glossy and green, it does, I guess just fenestrate, but it gets these beautiful, beautiful splits in its leaves, and it looks amazing when it's mature. Again, if I can find a picture, I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, I'm really excited for when it starts to give me some of that growth. I don't know if I should have it on a moss pole in order for it to achieve that kind of level of growth. I don't know. Any of you that have this plant, do you grow it on a moss pole? Does it need to be on a moss pole? I'm trying to avoid more moss poles if I possibly can for the time being, just because I've extended a few moss poles recently, and I'm just aware that I've got moss poles, like, what am I saying? Moss poles in themselves tend to be quite bulky and take up quite a lot of space, but also typically mean that plants grow quite a lot quicker. And although I want my plants to grow quicker, I think it's sensible to get Ross in first with all his stuff and then see how much space we've got left for encouraging lots of growth, because it might be a little bit of a squeeze. Also, these are some of my Anthurium clarinervium babies that I grew from the seeds that I pollinated, and they're doing really well. Yeah, so as I say, there's some very exciting projects that me and Ross are undertaking at my flat in order to create more space when he moves in. And I will be, in fact, you'll be hearing about that very soon, because the project is starting in the next couple of days. But yeah, I'm really excited to share it with you, because it's going to mean more grow spaces for plants, and it's just a bit of fun. What we're doing is a bit of fun. So yeah, I'm excited to show you what we do. Also, I've just filled this up way too high. This is the Hoya Dasyantha, and it's just currently in a little goo pudding pot, a semi-hydro, and I've just filled it up way too high. Oh, and I can absolutely guarantee that semi-hydro is now going to go everywhere. Oh my goodness, I did that very well. Minimal mess. Well done, Claire. Okay, cool. And then the Philodendron pinnatilobum, this is one that is massively exciting me at the moment. I know I've spoken about it quite a lot recently, but I just cannot wait to see what this one does for me. It's another one in semi-hydro, loving life, seeming very happy. And then, oh, okay, so I've got a couple of sections of this. So the Philodendron Paraiso Verde, I actually got rid of my Paraiso Verde a while back because it just wasn't making me that happy. I took a cutting from that one, which I kept back for myself, and then I also got sent some, or what am I saying? I got sent a big long kind of strand of Paraiso Verde in the rare plant rescue box, sorry, oh my goodness, my words. Rare plant rescue box that I got as well. I took some cuttings of that, I put them into prop boxes, and all of them came out with really beautiful variegation, and I've now got several sections that are gorgeously variegated, and I've got even more in my prop box as well, so I'm kind of thinking that I might pot them all up together at some point soon and get a massive full plant going. And if I love that full plant, then amazing, I've got a lovely full plant for myself. And if I don't, I'll probably swap or sell the full plant, because as I say, it is one that I've tried a few times with already, and it just hasn't really seemed to be the plant for me, but I'm absolutely willing to give it another go. And yeah, this one's just beautiful. Look at the variegation on those leaves. So yeah, I'm undecided about that at the moment, but this one's just kind of growing wild. It's a little bit leggy, and again, I could chop it up, but I'm just letting it do its thing. It's kind of fun when you end up with lots of sections of one plant, or you do chop one plant up, because you can just kind of experiment a little bit and see what works, what doesn't. I know I get comments sometimes, you can't really see the bottom plant behind me over there. I've got a very sad looking plant that I can show you. And I've had a few comments from people recently being like, what is that plant? And it is a Philodendron jerry horn, a very dusty jerry horn that is not doing very well at all. That's what it's currently looking like. But the good thing is, because I've got, I think, about 7 sections of the jerry horn, I've just kind of been trying them in different environments. I've been trying them in different conditions. Sometimes I've found in the past that some plants actually propagate a little bit better in darker conditions. So because I've got, like, I think about, I was going to say 14, I think about 10 sections of that plant. I've got some in prop boxes. I've got a bit in the corner down there that's not doing great. But yeah, it just kind of gives you the freedom to play a little bit, which I quite like. And I'm certain that section is savable as well. It's just not looking as happy as it could be. But yeah, right, well, where did I get to? I've started going in all different directions now, which is very confusing. Another little section of the Philodendron White Princess. I've got so many sections of this plant at the moment, and I've decided that I'm just going to leave them propagating for a little bit longer, because I did start to take some of them out in a Patreon video the other day and they weren't quite ready to be potted. So yeah, I'm going to be giving them a little bit longer. Is that a thrip? Do you ever see something that looks very thrip-like, but I don't actually think it's alive? You just see like little yellow things, but I don't think. Oh, okay, I'm gonna keep that one out of the cabinets actually, just in case. Give it a proper check in, I was gonna say daylight, in sunlight or in brighter light after this video. And then this little clarinervium that is just very happily sitting at the back of my cabinet, not really doing a lot. I don't really know why it's in the cabinet, to be honest. It doesn't need to be in the cabinet, but I don't know, I'm just quite enjoying seeing it at the back there, and it seems fairly happy in that environment, so that is honestly the only reason why it's there. It does not need to be. I did actually, it was giving me an inflorescence, I think last week, and I collected some pollen and I've put it in my freezer, so I'm hoping that one of my other anthuriums should come into the pollen phase, into throwing off another inflorescence at some point soon, and then I'll be able to either hybridize or just pollinate the plants, because I'd love to do that again. I'd really like to do some more kind of cross-pollination, hybridization. It's maybe not the time of year to be starting that now, but I'm trying to think. I think it was about this time a year ago, a year and a year ago? I can't remember, that I did my Anthurium clarinervium. I don't think it was the height of summer that I pollinated that one. So yeah, I'm just keen to kind of like experiment a little bit more with pollination, because I enjoyed it so much and I found it such a rewarding process. I absolutely loved it. So yeah. And then this one, this is the, what's it called? The Philodendron Esmeraldense narrow form that I got for my birthday, and I've decided to propagate it in semi-hydro. It's not currently rooted, unless it started rooting. No, there's nothing that I can see as of yet. And I don't think I've ever propagated a philodendron in semi-hydro. I've done Hoya, certain succulents. I don't think I've ever done a philodendron in semi-hydro before, in a semi-hydro mix. So I'm just monitoring this one very carefully and being prepared to potentially go to sphagnum moss or something like that very quickly, because I love this cutting. I think it's beautiful. I definitely don't want to lose the plant. But I think in theory it should be absolutely fine. I mean, this semi-hydro mix is the fine Soil Ninja one. It doesn't have any added fertiliser or anything like that. So in theory, it should kind of just be like perlite which I have had many successful attempts propagating Philodendron in, so hopefully it will be fine. But yeah, just a little bit slow to get going at the moment. And then the Hoya, I always call it the Louis Bois. I think some of you said it was actually the Lida Bois or Linda Bois. This one's doing okay again. It's kind of fallen off my radar a little bit, this one recently. It was another one that had mealybugs. And I treated it and I did a big chop back of it, and it has kind of started to produce lots of lovely new growth, but it's kind of growing in a bit of a strange way, which I quite like, but I feel like it just set the plant back a little bit. It was kind of getting very long and traily before, and now it's just a bit like woohoo. So yeah, I'm just leaving it to kind of do its thing in the cabinet. It seems okay, and I haven't seen any mealybugs on it again for a while, which is good, but as always, just kind of very closely monitoring it. And it's also starting to get quite a few peduncles, which I'm excited about, because the standard Hoya Bella that I've got blooms all the time. Literally, that plant is always in flower. But the variegated one has never bloomed for me, and I don't know if its blooms look the same, if they're like a cool variegated version. I don't know. Do any of you know? But yeah, I'm excited if it does bloom. So fingers crossed for that. And then the Alloca Regal Shield. This one I just put into, I potted this one up in my last video, but that one's just done a little reservoir there, and it's already giving me a new leaf. Bearing in mind, I filmed that other video 2 days ago. It's already giving me a new leaf. It's a very speedy one. And then this one, this again, HOUSEPLANTS. This is a Alternanthera party time little one down here that is potted with, oh, what's the name of it? I can never remember the name. But they are all growing together so quickly. It's also the most dramatic plant in the world. Like, if it gets even the tiniest bit dehydrated, it will just be like, oh, all of a sudden, and you look at it and you're like, oh my god, the plant's dying, and you give it a drop of water and within hours it will have perked up again. But again, it's another one in semi-hydro at the moment. It probably needs to be staked, to be honest, because it's getting so big and kind of wavy. But yeah, but I don't mind it growing in the cabinet. I know it's kind of very, for me, a little bit garish, but it's all right. It's fine. It's actually, it's growing on me. What is it called? That's going to annoy me. No, genuinely don't know. And then Monstera Standaliana. Again, this one's doing pretty well. It's giving me so much gorgeous half moon growth at the moment, which is making me very happy. Also such a low maintenance plant. And I'm just going to pour the water from, just realised you can't really see what I'm using, but I'm doing the method that I always do to water. I'm just using a washing up bowl with a oven rack going across it, and then I can just bring my watering station with me as I go. And then assuming I don't find pests on any of the plants that I water through, I can just reuse the water as well. Which I know some people say not to do. I've never personally had any issues doing it this way. And also when you're using lovely fertilised water, like, I just don't want to waste that. I don't want to just pour that away. So yeah, just give the moss pole of the Standaliana another little water through because it's become quite hydrophobic. I should really get a plastic cup or something to put on top of it to keep in my cabinet to keep it topped up, but I've been really bad at doing that for this plant. I think typically because the cabinet does provide a much more humid environment, it tends to keep the moss poles more hydrated, but this one has got very dry. And then I've got some other little Anthurium clarinervium seedlings that, I mean, this just kind of goes to show the difference between some of them. I've got some that are doing amazingly and some that are just kind of taking a while to get going. And these ones aren't doing badly, like they are putting out new growth, but just obviously when you compare it to the ones that I've already shown you, they're a little bit behind those. And it's funny because they are now in the same environment, but I have a feeling I germinated the seeds in different ways. I've kind of lost track now, to be honest, apart from some of them that I've been very good at separating. With a lot of them, I've kind of lost track which were germinated in the dark, which were in the light, because I know I did do a little experiment with it. But I can't remember exactly what those ones were because I haven't labelled them. And then I've just got this little Anthurium Silver Blush, which has got a leaf that I can see it needs chopping back. But this one actually is in pon, and I've just got it in a little, well, reservoir that hasn't been filled, but a little drainage tray that I use as a reservoir, and it seems pretty happy. It's another Anthurium that it's just kind of in my collection. It's never blown my mind. It's always been doing okay. I've chopped it back several times, and I just don't feel that strongly about it, I don't think. Because yeah, it just hasn't, like that new leaf is beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. But it hasn't ever really sized up that much for me or done anything particularly extravagant and exciting. So yeah, before I put everything back in the top of my cabinet though, I am just going to do the same thing. I'm going to give it a sweep out just because then I'll feel better about myself and it'll be done. I was just about to treat my Anthurium Regal for the mealybug and give it a check over for other mealybugs. But I got a little bit distracted as I was setting up over here, and I tried to open one of my windows because it's very, very warm in here today. And I accidentally pulled down my Scindapsus Silver Hero, and I know I said that I couldn't be bothered to pot up this section with it, but I'm kind of thinking maybe I should just do it. Maybe I should just do it because then it's done. Like, I'm trying to free up a little bit of space in my collection at the moment, and although I love having little sections of this plant just dotted around my home, I'm like, if it's rooted and if it's ready to go and I want to try and clear some space in my cabinet, then why don't I just do it right now? I'm so good at putting things off. So I think that is what I'm going to do, and then I will do the mealybug treatment. I say my Anthurium Regal. I actually have just found a couple of other mealybuggy things as I was just over here kind of having a bit of a clean and a tidy up. I really just want the mealybugs gone. I know some of you have said that using ladybirds is really effective, and I'm just a little bit reluctant to do that in the house, and also just because I'm not sure how kind it would be to the ladybirds. I mean, I know I use predatory insects as it is, like I do use predatory mites, beneficial insects, and they do the job, but they tend to very much just kind of either stay in their colony bags or just live on the plants and kind of live out their lives without straying into my space too much. And I just feel like ladybirds, because they're quite big and obviously they fly, I feel like having them just around your house, you really notice them and they'd like end up in your dinner and stuff. I don't know, I've never done it, but if any of you have, then please let me know what your experience has been like with it, because I would never say never for giving these things a go, but I just feel like potentially doing it with outdoor gardening or in a greenhouse space or a contained space would be better than just releasing them in my flat, you know? So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that. And considering that I've just hydrated this moss, this is really annoyingly difficult to get it all off. It's just finicky, I think because I have left it in here propagating for such a long time. It's got to the stage where it's really hard to tell what's root and what is moss. But yeah, this is a lovely section, so I'm thinking when it is all potted up with the main plant, then it's going to be looking gorgeous. I've actually chopped back the main plant quite a few times. I've given cuttings away to people as friends, and I did actually do what I've only ever done for pothos plants before, actually. I wound, because I had one very, very, very long vine that was just trailing down, and it usually hangs in this window just above where I'm filming now, and it kept kind of whacking me on the head, and so I wound it round and just kind of pinned it into the soil to try and activate some more growth points. And I am thinking that that's probably works, because I can see now that it has got multiple growth points, so I'll be able to have a proper look at that once I take it out of its pot. Also, I never ever film from this angle. It feels a little bit weird, and I don't really know why I'm filming from here, but I think because now I've got my new camera, I'm able to just kind of film from places that I wouldn't have been able to before, because light would have looked really bad. And I do know that this is probably not the best lit spot, but I'm just quite enjoying having a play about with it, to be honest. One of the main things that I need to do for the rest of the day is, I mean, it doesn't sound very exciting, but I'm for some reason quite excited about it, is just start going through all of my stuff, really. I was going to say all my clothes, but just everything I own, and just trying to have a bit of a declutter, a reorganise, because as I say, Ross will be moving in quite soon, and we're just kind of getting prepped for that, and I'm so excited. Like, I'm absolutely buzzing for it. But it's just made me realise that in the relatively short amount of time I've lived here, it's been just under a year, I have accumulated so much stuff. And I always say that, like, if you were to take away my plants, I wouldn't actually have much stuff, and that is true. But then, like, if you pull out a basket, you'll be like, oh, there's batteries and bulbs and blue tack and scissors and all sorts of random... Oh, there's actually a little wet stick that's sprouting. I'll plant that back in. Or maybe I'll propagate that, continue to propagate that. I don't know. Put it to one side. But yeah, I think... And me and Ross were saying this the other day. Whenever you first move somewhere, you always want to keep it really neat and organised and, like, feeling so lovely. And as soon as it actually starts to feel like home, it's very easy to just go, oh, I'll put that away later, or oh, I'll shove that in that drawer, and then 5 months later you stumble across it again, you're like, oh, that's where it was. So I'm using it as a really good excuse to just get myself decluttered and organised, and it's such a good feeling. Like, I hate doing it. Like, the actual process of doing it is so tedious, and I get so distracted, and my brain just doesn't want to do it. But I think because I've been doing it for a few days now, and I'm really kind of getting a buzz out of how I feel once I put a charity bag outside my door, or like once I'm like, okay, right, those light bulbs are organised in a good way. This is so boring. Why am I talking about light bulbs? But do you know what I mean? Does anyone know what I mean? It just feels really good, because I'm not like the most disorganised person in the world, but I could always be better, and I slip so easily, and I've really slipped. So yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying about doing things on camera and like holding yourself accountable and actually making yourself do stuff, and then you feel so much better afterwards. I'm kind of getting that buzz out of just getting on top a little bit. I'm feeling like my space is a bit clearer as well. So yeah, that is, I'm going to finish doing these planty things, and then that is probably my plan for the next few hours before I get Joli out, because I'm trying to make a little bit of time each day to do it, either in the evenings or in the daytime, depending on what my schedule's like. And that feels like a good thing to do today. But there we go. Look at all of those roots. Aren't they amazing? Like, this plant is 100% ready to go, and I've got several sections of it here, which I could kind of break up a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to leave them as is. And so, also, what should I do about this bit? Should I just pop that on top of the soil? Or should I put it back into a prop box? Oh, oops. I just snapped off its one and only root. So yeah, okay, this will go into a prop box. But everything else is going to go into the main pot. I've tied the knot on this pot. It's one of the ones that I've made. I've tied it quite tightly, and it's meant that it's quite difficult to actually get this plant out without tipping soil everywhere. I think I should probably loosen that knot a little bit. But yeah, okay, so I can see that some of my hair clipping has not worked very well. You can see it's just like pulling out there. You can see the hairpins. But actually just next to the hairpin, you can see there is an aerial root that's starting to kind of want to go down into the soil. So what I think I'll probably do is this section here that doesn't seem to have kind of actually rooted into the soil to the point that I can't lift it out. I'll probably just move a little bit of space here and pot the cuttings into the back of the pot, and then I can pin them back down into place, and then hopefully it should just immediately appear fuller and continue to grow fuller as well. Does that make sense? I know what I mean. Okay, so I'm just digging a little hole. In fact, I'd probably be better off. Would I be better off repotting this plant? Let's put it in and let's see how much space I've got. And if I think it's going to be ridiculously cramped, then I will consider repotting. You know what? This could actually be a pretty perfect fit. I will obviously just need to add in a little bit more soil. Quite a lot of soil's actually, ooh, fallen out and gone down, ooh, to the bottom of the pot. But if I put a little bit more soil in and I give it a water through, I think, for the time being at least, that should be fine for this plant. Oh, I have the tiniest bit of soil here, and I do mean tiny. But that, I think, will be enough to fill this one. Okay, seeing as I'm right by the sink, I'm just going to give it a water through here. Oh my goodness, that looks so beautiful. I got this plant as a one leaf cutting and it's finally starting to fill out. And it wasn't even that long ago that I got the plant, because I think often, especially when it's like a slightly rarer type of plant, like this one is considered quite rare where I'm from still, it's often very, very tempting, and I have been guilty of this myself before, but it's often very tempting to like be very impatient and not wait for cuttings to grow. But this one, once it gets going, is so quick. I think I've had this less than a year. And as I say, I have given away quite a lot of cuttings in that time as well, but I've also managed to get a really big full plant going. So yeah, if you're in any doubt about like buying this plant for a lot of money as a full plant or just getting a few cuttings, I would personally get the cuttings because it is super, super speedy. And it's one that I've just got growing, as I say, in the window just above where I'm filming now, which is actually west facing, I think. So it doesn't get any direct sun at all. It just gets all round kind of bright light most of the day. And this one seems really happy there. Oh, just trying not to damage its foliage as I pull it back through this stupidly tight knot that I was going to redo and I completely forgot. Perfect. There we go. That looks so gorgeous. Oh, I feel really good having finally done that. As I say, it has been something that I've been meaning to do for a while and I just have not done. So yeah, now I am going to do the mealybug treatment. So I'm just going to go grab my Anthurium Regal and the other plants. Standard, just isopropyl alcohol to paint the mealybugs with because it kills them instantly. And I've said it before, I don't particularly like doing it, but it just needs to be done sometimes. So obviously the obvious one that I saw I'm gonna get that one and then just give the rest of the plant a really good check and make sure that there's no others just kind of like hidden in the little crevices, because it does have a lot of little kind of gaps in it that they could be lurking. And saying that, I actually can't see anymore. I'm not going to put it back in my cabinet just yet though. I am going to keep it out and just monitor this plant and hope that that was just a one-off. I think I'm probably overly wary about them now just because I'm struggling with them so much. But yeah, I'm going to put that one to one side and, as I say, just keep an eye on it. Oh, but then I've got two here. This one's not as bad. This one actually, so the Hoya Bella that's just potted here, this is actually not my plant anymore. So I think I did it for a Patreon video as opposed to a YouTube video, I think I'm right in saying. But just before Christmas, I gave lots of cuttings to my neighbours, like plant cuttings to my neighbours as presents. I'd just recently moved into the building and I thought it was just quite a nice thing to do. And bless them, they've all kept me updated with their cuttings. All of the cuttings have survived. They're all doing really well. But one of my neighbours actually sadly had to move out recently, and he left this for me to look after while he was in the process of moving out his stuff, and he hasn't come back for it yet. He did send me a text the other day just saying, can I pop back and get my plants at some point soon? But I have noticed that the Hoya Bella has got, I mean, I've actually squished the obvious ones, but it did have a couple of mealybugs on it. And obviously, I mean, I'm quite used to treating plants for pests because obviously I have a lot of plants and I quite enjoy doing planty things. And although he really loves this plant, he's not that clued up on pesty things. I mean, why should he be? He's not a planty person. I've just apparently tried to turn him into one. But yeah, so I just want to make sure that this plant is in a good state when he comes to get it. And I might just say to him if he's got any other plants, which I don't think he does. But if he does, just to keep this one away from them for the time being. Again, I actually can't see that much to worry about here. And when I first gave my neighbours these cuttings, they were propagating in sphagnum moss, and I decorated the cups that I was propagating them in, like with pretty ribbon and stuff. I made them look nice. And he's potted this one up, and he has potted it up straight into a pot that doesn't have drainage. And when you're using soil as a substrate, this is something that I would personally never recommend doing, just because it is quite easy to, well, I mean, it's easy to, what am I saying? It's easy to judge the water ratio wrong, and your plants are more susceptible to things like root rot. It's very easy to overwater because you can't see how much is left sat around the base. But so far, touch wood, this one seems to be doing pretty well. Like the Hoya Bella is looking so beautiful and full. In fact, it's kind of looking better than mine at the moment because mine's a little bit funky right now. And then I've got this Raftophora tetrasperma in there as well, which again, I've just had a look over for mealybugs. Can't see anything. And then there is a little bit of Syngonium albo in here, and I feel a little bit guilty because this actually did have a few more leaves when he left it for me to look after. I think because the Hoya Bella and the tetrasperma are quite drought tolerant, I just let this dry out a little bit too much, and because I couldn't monitor it in the way that I'm used to, I did lose the leaves on the Syngonium albo, so I'm hoping they grow back before I have to give it back to him. But then the last one that I want to just look at, and this is a pain in the ass plant, it really is, my Maranta Lemon Lime, which I absolutely love, and is also just currently in this little monster pot that Ross made. I think I've said it in other videos, but we've got so into making our own pots, and it's really fun. It's really, really fun. I'm actually thinking about doing a video on it in the next maybe like few days or something, because I am obsessed with doing it at the moment and I think it looks pretty cool. But my Maranta Lemon Lime. So my Marantas have had mealybugs before, and typically you look at this kind of plant and you don't think it maybe looks like the sort that is that susceptible to mealybugs compared to plants like Hoyas, for example, or anthuriums. And this one, it's almost like a blink and you'd miss it kind of thing. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on camera, but if you look along this section, like the main vein of the leaf, can you see those teeny tiny white things? Like, I know they are so small, but those are juvenile mealybugs, and I only know because I've dealt with them before. Like, you would blink and you'd miss them. Like, they are so small, and they're not what you would necessarily think of when you hear mealybug, because typically, obviously, the ones that we tend to see are the big, fluffy, kind of more well-established ones. But they're really annoying on Marantas because Marantas, their leaves, like the way their leaves grow, they overlap and they leave quite a lot of gaps, and they often get into those gaps and can bring down the plants so quickly. It is quite a sensitive one that's maybe not as robust and resilient as the ones like the more robust plants that mealybugs typically attack. So yeah, I'm just painting over all the ones I can see. And I'm also, after this, just going to give it a really good shower down. And again, try and keep it isolated. It's so hard to isolate plants when you've got so many. When me and Ross's renovation project is complete, then I'm hoping it should be easier to kind of create some isolation zones. I have thought about this and I've got some plans for it. And oh my goodness, I just want to talk to you guys about it because it's so exciting what we're planning. It's just on my mind constantly at the moment, and I'm really excited for it. And yeah, we're going to be starting that very soon. But yeah. I think that new leaf was the one that was the worst affected, to be honest. The thing to remember as well is that the smaller, more juvenile mealybugs, they also move much quicker. Like the adults tend to be quite slow to move, and like, for example, I left my Anthurium Regal over there for like 45 minutes. I brought it back over here to treat just now, and it was still in the exact same place, whereas the little ones, you can actually kind of, they don't run as fast as like thrips, but they do move quite quickly. Like, I'm not going to demonstrate, but they do move quite fast, so they're much easier in every sense to miss. I'm just gently trying to pull the leaves apart to look and see if there's any in the little gaps, but I don't want to break off the little leaves. Oh yeah, I can see one in the petiole just there. I don't know if you can you see? Oh, I don't think the camera's going to focus. I mean, it is really properly hidden in there. Either that, like right at the top, the little white bit. Oh, how annoying. Also, this is very random, but I watched such an amazing documentary the other day about mushrooms. And I think the reason why it interested me so much is because I've been, like, as I've spoken about in videos before, I've been doing a lot more research into kind of soil science and the networks that naturally exist underground to help plants kind of connect to each other. And I've been a lot more mindful about what I put into my soil in terms of like fertilizers and stuff like that. And I mean, anything I put on my plants, it's one of the main reasons that I went chemical free. It's why I bang on about things like liquid gold leaf all the time. But anyway, this documentary is called Fantastic Fungi, and it's on Netflix if any of you fancy watching it. And it is just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. I'd heard about this before, but it explains about like how fungi underground, I can't remember the exact term that they use to call them, like microphyllum or something like that. They basically create these networks between trees. So if there's a tree that is dying and it wants to pass its nutrients to another tree that's related to it, it will be able to tell which one is its relative, and it can pass stuff to its relatives. It's just amazing. It's just absolutely fantastic. And there's other elements more magical elements, let's say, of the documentary that are also very, very interesting as well, if you're interested in that sort of thing. But yeah, I just put it on kind of to have on in the background while I was having dinner and just doing some planty things, and I got completely captivated by it. And yeah, I actually would love, already I'd be interested to watch it again, because I feel like there's more to learn from it and more to take in. And I just thought it was quite cool that something like that was on Netflix, because yeah, it's I guess a little bit more niche. But yeah, highly recommend that. But okay, so I've got a leaf that I'm going to chop just there, because that one just is not looking particularly healthy. I think that is probably just down to me underwatering this plant. I filled up its reservoir now. It's in semi-hydro, but I forgot to do that for a little while, up until I did it this morning. But yeah, I'm going to go give this one a shower down. I might actually do that for my neighbour's plants as well, just to be on the safe side. And yeah, hopefully they won't need to stay in isolation for long, and hopefully, I'm gonna keep saying it, but hopefully this is the last time I'll see mealybugs in a while. I feel like it's not, but yeah, and then I'm gonna crack on and do some organising. I know that sounds incredibly boring, but that is what's on my agenda. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's just been another very kind of random, just pottering, doing the sort of stuff that I do with my plants day to day. And I'm really enjoying making videos in this way at the moment, because it just feels quite natural, and it just feels like I'm able to just chat to you as I would a friend if you were here doing it with me. What am I saying? So yeah, let me know if you like this kind of video, and I will definitely be sure to make more of them. But yes, if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.